Every morning, before the world wakes you up with noise and demands, take a moment to face yourself. Speak the truth that no one else will remind you of. These are not comfortable words. They are not soft or flattering. They are the realities that will sharpen your mind, strengthen your spirit, and make you unstoppable. Life owes you nothing. Say it clearly to yourself every morning. The moment you wake up, remind yourself that the world is not a safe place designed to give you comfort or reward you for your desires. Every opportunity you will ever have, every piece of success, every moment of recognition or approval is not your right. It is a privilege earned through effort, action, and persistence. The sooner you accept this, the sooner you stop waiting for life to hand you what you think you deserve and start taking responsibility for creating it yourself. Complaining about unfairness, envying others, or wishing circumstance were different wastes the only thing you truly control, your action. Life is not obligated to protect your feelings or make your path easy. Understanding this truth is not about becoming cynical or cold. It is about becoming powerful. The moment you stop expecting the world to give you what you want, you stop being a victim of chance, of fortune, of luck. You become a force in your own life. Every day, countless people wake up with the same complaint. Why is life so hard? They look at their problems, at the people around them, at the economy, at their health, at the lack of opportunity, and they feel wronged. But those feelings are the result of a belief that the world owes them something. The world owes you nothing, and once you accept it, the weight of disappointment disappears. You stop blaming your circumstances and start focusing on your power to act. The people who succeed are not the ones who wait for help, for fairness, or for the perfect timing. They are the ones who act despite difficulty, who find solutions instead of excuses, who take responsibility for their own growth. Every morning tell yourself that waiting for life to hand you opportunities is a waste. Instead, go find them. Make them. Force them into existence through effort, skill, and determination. This truth also teaches patience and humility. Recognizing that life owes you nothing does not mean you will be rewarded less. It means you understand that rewards are not guaranteed. You learn to work without expectation, to act without complaint, and to value every small victory. You become resilient because you are no longer dependent on external circumstances to define your happiness or your success. You understand that failure is not an injustice, it is a signal, a lesson, a challenge that demands a response. You stop envying those who seem to have it easier, because you know that no one's life is owed to them, either. Everyone is fighting battles you cannot see, facing difficulties you cannot imagine, and still some succeed while others fail. The difference is not luck, it is the understanding that life gives nothing for free, and that effort, discipline, and persistence are the only currencies that matter. Every morning, remind yourself that no one else is responsible for your life. Parents, teachers, bosses, friends, governments, or fate. They do not owe you comfort, protection, or success. Every choice, every action, every decision you make determines the course of your life. You may encounter setbacks, obstacles, and moments when the world feels cruel or indifferent, but these are not personal attacks, they are simply reality. The sooner you accept that life is impartial and indifferent to your desires, the sooner you stop wasting energy on resentment and fear and start investing it in action and growth. This truth does not make life harder, it makes life clearer. It strips away illusions and excuses, leaving you with only what you can control: your effort, your mindset, your choices, and your responses. By reminding yourself daily that life owes you nothing, you strengthen your inner resolve. You cultivate independence and self-reliance. You learn to move forward with clarity and purpose, no longer shackled by entitlement, complaint, or hope for unearned rewards. Every morning speak this truth to yourself with conviction and let it guide how you face the day. Pain is a part of life. It is unavoidable. Every person will experience it in some form sooner or later. It can come as physical suffering, emotional loss, failure, disappointment, betrayal, or fear. The world will not shield you from pain, and pretending otherwise only delays the moment when you must confront it. This is why it is essential to face the truth. Pain is certain, it is inevitable. No plan, no wealth, no status, no charm can prevent hardship from entering your life. But suffering, real suffering, is optional. Suffering begins not with the pain itself, but with the way you respond to it. Many people experience the same hardship yet react differently. Some break, Some complain endlessly, some drown in bitterness, while others meet the same pain with clarity, acceptance, and resolve. The difference lies not in what happens, but in how they handle it. Pain tests you. Suffering amplifies it. Your task every morning is to decide which path you will take. When the alarm rings, you can remind yourself that discomfort is temporary, and it is a natural part of existence. You can remind yourself that what you are feeling is a signal, not a sentence. Pain is the world speaking to you, showing you limits to overcome, lessons to learn, resilience to build. Suffering is the story your mind tells about that pain. You can feel the ache of a setback without turning it into despair. You can face disappointment without letting it define you. You can acknowledge failure without allowing it to consume your spirit. Every day, life will test your patience, your endurance, your perspective, but the choice to suffer or not remains yours. By taking ownership of your response, you reclaim power from circumstances that would otherwise overwhelm you. Pain teaches lessons that comfort cannot. It reveals your weaknesses, exposes your dependencies, and highlights the areas in which you must grow. When you embrace pain as part of the process, it becomes a tool, not a punishment. You learn discipline, persistence, and courage. You learn that discomfort is temporary, and your capacity to endure it is far greater than you imagined. The morning is the best time to internalize this truth because it sets the tone for the day. When you face challenges, small or large, you can remind yourself that the pain itself does not hurt nearly as much as your refusal to accept it. Suffering is voluntary. It is the mind insisting that what happened should not have, the mind resisting reality instead of adapting to it. Recognizing this is the first step toward freedom. Those who fail to understand this fall into patterns of unnecessary suffering. They blame others for pain they could not control. They dwell on misfortune and they let emotions dictate actions. They are trapped in a cycle where every setback becomes a personal tragedy, every disappointment a permanent wound. But those who understand the distinction between pain and suffering recognize that while life may strike harshly, they can endure. They can absorb the blows, learn the lessons, and continue forward. They develop resilience that cannot be shaken by fortune or misfortune because they know that the real power lies in their response, not in external circumstances. Every morning, remind yourself that discomfort is normal, that challenges are inevitable, and that suffering is optional. When you meet obstacles, you meet them with calmness, with clarity, with strength. You acknowledge the pain, but you refuse to amplify it with fear, anger, or despair. This does not mean you become cold or unfeeling. It means you recognize reality, and in that recognition, you find freedom. Every setback, every disappointment, every moment of discomfort is an opportunity to practice endurance, to refine patience, to build inner strength. The world will not stop causing pain, but you can stop allowing suffering to dominate your mind, your energy, and your actions. Your mind is the battlefield. Every day, before you speak, act, or even breathe fully into the world, the war is already happening inside you. Doubts whisper, fears threaten, laziness tempts, anger rises, and envy lingers. Every thought is a soldier, every emotion a weapon. If you do not control the battlefield will control you. Your success, your peace, your character, all of these depend on how well you command your own mind. The morning is the time to take control. Before distractions, before the noise, before the demands of the world reach you, you must declare that you are the general of your inner domain. You must examine every corner of your thoughts, every impulse, every inclination, and recognize which will serve you and which will betray you. Without this command, you drift, reacting to every external circumstance, every insult, every setback, and every temptation, instead of acting with purpose and reason. Every thought is not truth. Every feeling is not fact. Your mind is a factory producing both clarity and confusion, wisdom and foolishness. Some thoughts push you forward, inspire action, and strengthen resolve. Others drag you into despair, feed resentment, and magnify fear. Distinguishing between the two is essential. This is why discipline begins with observation. Watch your thoughts, notice the patterns that lead to weakness, and identify the impulses that undermine your goals. The mind is both the greatest tool and the greatest threat you will ever face. You will not find peace or power in the world outside until you have first achieved it within. Each morning, take stock which thoughts deserve attention and which must be dismissed like weeds from fertile soil. Emotions themselves are not the enemy, but the failure to govern them is. Anger, fear, jealousy, and despair are like storms. They can either water your growth or flood your life with destruction. The choice is in your control. The mind that cannot master emotions will constantly be a slave to circumstances. The same challenge can break one person and strengthen another, simply because of how the mind responds. When fear arises, do not let it dictate hesitation. When anger rises, do not let it dictate cruelty. When envy rises, do not let it dictate resentment. Every day is a test. Will you respond with reason or with reflex? Will you choose clarity or chaos? Your mind also shapes how you perceive the world. Every event, every interaction, every outcome is filtered through it. If your mind is weak, the world will feel heavy, hostile, and unfair. If your mind is strong, even the harshest circumstances become lessons, opportunities, and training grounds. A disciplined mind can find opportunity in failure, clarity in confusion, and calm in chaos. This is why the morning is sacred. Before the demands of life cloud your judgment, before frustration and distraction dull your focus, take command. Declare that no fleeting impulse will rule your day. Set your intentions, align your thoughts with action, and decide which mental habits will serve you. Every day, countless distractions and challenges aim to hijack your mind. Opinions, gossip, social media, anger, comparison, they all seek to pull your focus from your purpose. If your mind is untrained, it will be pulled in every direction, leaving you exhausted, anxious, and ineffective. But a mind that is disciplined, that is alert, and that is self-aware can navigate any storm. It can act decisively, think clearly, and endure patiently. Every morning remind yourself that your greatest power and your greatest vulnerability reside within. The battlefield is not outside, it is inside. Control it, fortify it, train it. Every action you take today, every choice you make begins with the command of your own mind. Most of life's problems come from focusing on what you cannot control. The truth is, the world is full of events, circumstances, and people over which you have no power. You cannot control the weather, the actions of others, the economy, sudden misfortune, or even the timing of your own successes. Trying to change what is beyond your reach is a waste of energy, a trap that leads to frustration, anger, and despair. Every morning, remind yourself that the only things truly under your control are your own actions, your choices, your thoughts, and your responses. These are the levers you can pull to shape your life, and everything else is beyond your influence. To focus on what you cannot control is to give your power away. To focus on what you can control is to reclaim it. Many people spend their lives trying to manipulate circumstances they cannot change. They try to control other people's opinions, bend situations to their liking, or resist reality itself. This struggle is endless and exhausting because it is based on a fundamental misunderstanding of life. It is not here to conform to your wishes. By attempting the impossible, you create unnecessary suffering. Every rejection, every betrayal, every failure feels heavier because of the energy spent on trying to control the uncontrollable. Yet those who master this truth find freedom. They accept what happens, and they dedicate themselves to action where it truly matters on themselves, their effort, and their mindset. The key is to redirect energy toward what you can influence and let go of the rest. Controlling yourself means controlling your actions, decisions, and reactions. You cannot force respect, but you can act honorably. You cannot prevent failure, but you can persevere. You cannot stop others from hurting you, but you can protect your mind from bitterness and resentment. You cannot control how long you live, but you can decide how meaningfully you live each day. By focusing on what is within your control, you build resilience, confidence, and clarity. You stop wasting time and energy on blame, anger, or complaints. You stop being a victim of circumstances and start becoming the master of your life. Every morning, remind yourself that surrendering control over the uncontrollable is not weakness, it is strategy. Life will constantly present events that seem unfair, unpredictable, or cruel. Someone may speak harshly to you, an opportunity may disappear, illness may strike, or plans may collapse. These things are outside your control, and resisting them only leads to suffering. But your attitude toward these events is always within your control. How you perceive a setback, how you respond to criticism, how you handle disappointment, all of this is up to you. The more you practice focusing on what you can control, the less power external events will have over your peace and progress. You will act from clarity rather than emotion, from reason rather than impulse. Every morning, remind yourself of this distinction before you step into the world. Observe the challenges that lie ahead and ask yourself, which aspects of this day can I shape? Which actions, decisions, and responses are mine to control? Direct all your energy toward these, and let go of the rest. By doing this consistently, you train your mind to act decisively, to endure patiently, and to navigate life without unnecessary suffering. Your time, focus, and effort are precious. Spend them on what truly matters. External events are fleeting, your responses endure. The discipline of controlling what you can, and releasing what you cannot, is the path to clarity, strength, and freedom in every situation. Every morning remind yourself that death is closer than you think. This is not meant to frighten you or fill your mind with despair, but to awaken you to the reality of your time. Life is short, fragile, and unpredictable. Every day that passes is a day you will never get back. People often live as if they are immortal, postponing courage, honesty, hard work, and love for some vague tomorrow that may never come. They put off the things that matter, thinking they will have endless time to act, to speak, to grow, or to change. But the truth is, none of us knows how many mornings we have. Recognizing this reality is not morbid, it is liberating. It forces you to prioritize what is truly important, to act decisively, and to value every single moment. Time is the one resource that is completely finite. Money can be earned and lost. Fame can fade, possessions can be replaced. But every second of your life is gone forever once it passes. The morning is the perfect moment to remind yourself of this, before distractions, obligations, and the noise of the world steal your focus. Ask yourself, if today were my last, what would I do differently? How would I spend these hours? This question is not hypothetical, it is a lens through which every action gains clarity and urgency. The awareness of mortality sharpens your priorities. It highlights what is trivial and exposes what truly matters. Life is too short to waste on complaints, envy, procrastination, or fear. Every morning carry this truth with you, and let it guide your decisions. Death also teaches the value of courage. Many people live timidly because they fear failure, rejection, or discomfort. They wait for the perfect moment to act, the perfect conditions to speak, or the perfect plan to execute. But if death can arrive at any moment, hesitation is foolish. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is action despite it. Every day, remind yourself that you do not have unlimited time to postpone the difficult conversations, the bold decisions, or the honest confessions. Life rewards those who act while they still can. Fear of failure becomes insignificant when compared to the reality that your time is limited. Acting with courage and integrity is not just admirable, it is necessary, because the clock is always running, silently, relentlessly, and invisibly. Mortality also teaches the importance of meaning. Wealth, status, and fleeting pleasures are temporary, they vanish with time. What lasts is the impact you leave, the values you uphold, and the way you live each moment. Every morning remind yourself that you are the steward of your own life, and every action matters. Invest in growth, kindness, honesty, discipline, and purpose. Do not squander the hours on trivialities or distractions that dull your mind and weaken your spirit. The awareness of death sharpens your focus, distills your intentions, and elevates the quality of every choice. Finally, understanding that death is closer than you think fosters gratitude. Life is fleeting, but it is also a gift. Each morning is an opportunity to experience, to learn, to act, and to grow. Recognize that the ordinary moments, waking up, breathing, seeing, speaking, working, are miracles in their own right. When you live with the knowledge of mortality, every sunrise becomes meaningful. You begin to treasure the time you have, to respect the people around you, and to pursue your goals with urgency and clarity. Death is certain, but it can teach you how to live fully, with courage, purpose, and relentless appreciation for every fleeting moment you are given. Discipline is the foundation of a strong life. Every morning, remind yourself that your habits shape your destiny more than your desires or intentions. Without discipline, talent is wasted, opportunities are missed, and potential fades. The day begins the moment you wake, and the choices you make in those first hours set the tone for everything that follows. How you act when no one is watching reveals the true measure of your character. Discipline is not a punishment or a restriction, it is the path to freedom. Freedom comes not from indulging every whim, but from mastering yourself, your impulses, and your routines. The person who can control small, daily actions will find it far easier to control larger challenges when they arise. Habits are the building blocks of your life. Every decision you make from the moment you open your eyes either strengthens or weakens them. Waking up late, scrolling aimlessly, delaying responsibilities, giving in to comfort, these may seem small, but they compound over time, shaping who you become. Conversely, rising early, planning your day, exercising discipline in thought and action, prioritizing meaningful work, these simple, consistent actions accumulate into unstoppable momentum. Discipline is not about occasional bursts of effort. It is about creating systems that ensure consistency even when motivation fades. The morning is the ideal time to reinforce this because it sets the precedent for how the rest of your day will unfold. Every morning, remind yourself that discipline begins with choice. You can choose the easy path, the comfortable path, the path of least resistance, but that path leads to weakness and regret. Or you can choose the path of responsibility, effort, and self-mastery, and each small act of discipline compounds into strength, confidence, and capability. The hardest battles are often the ones no one sees, resisting the urge to sleep longer, to procrastinate, to give in to distractions. Winning these battles trains your mind, strengthens your will, and builds a foundation that no external circumstance can shake. Discipline is the silent force that turns ordinary people into leaders, thinkers, and achievers because it creates reliability, focus, and resilience. Self-discipline also governs your emotions. A disciplined person does not allow fear, anger, envy, or frustration to dictate actions. They acknowledge these feelings, but they do not surrender to them. Every morning, remind yourself that your mood does not control your actions, your discipline does. By training yourself to act consistently, even when you do not feel like it, you cultivate a strength that is unshakable, a confidence that is quiet but unyielding. When life throws obstacles, setbacks, or provocations at you, your discipline allows you to respond with clarity rather than chaos, with strategy rather than reaction, and with purpose rather than confusion. Discipline is also about priorities. Every morning, choose what deserves your attention and energy. Avoid being pulled in 100 directions by trivial matters, gossip, social media, or fleeting distractions. Focus on what matters most: your growth, your goals, your responsibilities, and your integrity. Small, repeated acts of discipline create momentum, and momentum compounds over time into achievement. You do not need inspiration to act. Discipline replaces it. Motivation comes and goes, but discipline ensures that action happens regardless of how you feel. Finally, remind yourself that discipline is a reflection of respect for your time, your potential, and your life. Every morning you commit to structure, to routine, to focus. You reinforce that respect. You tell yourself that your life is worth effort, that your goals are worth persistence, and that your character is worth building. Discipline is not punishment, it is investment. Every act of self-control, every choice to stay on task, every refusal to surrender to distraction, strengthens the foundation on which your success, peace, and purpose are built. Emotions are powerful, but they are not masters. They arise constantly, uninvited, and can cloud judgment if left unchecked. Anger, fear, jealousy, and frustration are natural responses to the world. But when you allow them to control your actions, they become destructive. Every morning, remind yourself that emotions are tools, not rulers. They provide information about what is happening, but they do not dictate how you must respond. Learning to observe your emotions without surrendering to them is the first step toward true freedom and clarity. The person who can feel deeply but act wisely is far stronger than someone who suppresses all emotion or someone who lets every feeling drive their choices. Anger is one of the most common emotions that clouds judgment. It can erupt suddenly, fueled by impatience, injustice, or disappointment. Left unchecked, it destroys relationships, wastes energy, and leads to actions you may regret. But anger itself is not inherently harmful. It is the surrender to anger that causes suffering. Every morning, remind yourself that anger is a signal, a warning, and an opportunity to pause and reflect. You can acknowledge it, understand its source, and choose a response that aligns with your long-term goals rather than the immediate impulse. This discipline over your emotions is not denial, it is mastery. Fear is another emotion that often dictates behavior without conscious choice. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of loss. These feelings can paralyze you if you let them. But fear is also a guide, pointing toward areas where courage is needed. Every morning acknowledge your fears, but refuse to be driven by them. Take action in spite of fear, and you will gradually weaken its power. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to act in alignment with reason and purpose despite fear's presence. The more consistently you do this, the less fear controls your decisions, and the more freedom you gain. Jealousy, envy are subtle yet corrosive emotions. They can make you resent others for their success, their possessions, or their opportunities, distracting you from your own path. Every morning remind yourself that what others have is not a measure of your value or potential. Let envy signal what you desire, but do not allow it to breed bitterness. Instead, use it as motivation to improve yourself, to act with diligence, and to focus on your own growth. Emotional mastery is not about ignoring desire, it is about channeling it productively. Frustration and disappointment are constant companions in life. Plans fail, people betray, situations go awry. These emotions are unavoidable, but suffering through them endlessly is optional. Every morning remind yourself that frustration is natural, but you control your response. Accept reality, identify what is within your control, and act decisively on that. The less you resist the world, the less power negative emotions have over you. The more you practice responding calmly, thoughtfully, and intentionally, the more resilient your mind becomes. Finally, every morning, acknowledge that your emotions are part of your human experience, but they are not the commanders of your actions. Observe them, understand them, and decide consciously how to act. Acting with discipline over your emotions does not make you unfeeling, it makes you strong, focused, and unshakable. When the world attempts to provoke you, distract you, or overwhelm you, you respond from clarity rather than chaos. You act with reason, not impulse, and with purpose, not reaction. Emotional mastery is a daily practice, and the morning is the perfect time to recommit yourself to it. Challenges are not punishments, they are opportunities. Every morning, remind yourself that life will bring difficulties, obstacles, and unexpected events, and that each of these experiences carries a lesson and a chance to grow. Most people see challenges as burdens, as interruptions to comfort, or as reasons to complain. They view obstacles as unfair and avoid them whenever possible. But those who understand the truth recognize that challenges are the tools through which strength, resilience, and wisdom are built. Without resistance, without friction, there is no growth. Comfort alone does not teach, it only softens. Each day, you will encounter situations that test your patience, skill, and character, and how you respond to them determines your progress in life. Obstacles are tests of both your mind and your spirit. When you face difficulty, it is easy to feel powerless, to believe that circumstances are stronger than you, and to give in to despair. Yet the real measure of a person is not how often they are challenged, but how they respond to challenges. Every morning, remind yourself that difficulties are invitations to rise, to act, and to improve. When you approach problems with clarity rather than panic, with effort rather than avoidance, you turn obstacles into stepping stones. What seems like a setback can become the very experience that prepares you for greater achievements. Life will not protect you from hardship, but it will reward those who meet it with resolve and discipline. Every challenge carries a lesson if you are willing to see it. Failures teach strategy, mistakes teach caution, betrayal teaches discernment, and loss teaches appreciation. Each obstacle is feedback from reality, showing you where you need to strengthen, adjust, or persist. The morning is the perfect time to internalize this truth because it sets your mindset for the day. When difficulties arise, instead of reacting with frustration or fear, you can approach them with curiosity and determination. The obstacle becomes a teacher, not an enemy. You may not control the challenge itself, but you can control how you respond, and that response shapes your growth and your future. Challenges also test your patience and endurance. They demand sustained effort, focus, and commitment. Some obstacles are solved quickly, others require time, persistence, and repeated effort. The disciplined mind sees these not as annoyances but as opportunities to cultivate perseverance. Every morning, remind yourself that endurance is built in small, repeated actions against resistance. Each moment you choose to persist, to push forward, or to act despite difficulty, you are strengthening your ability to handle greater challenges in the future. This daily practice of resilience turns ordinary people into strong, capable individuals who are prepared for whatever life presents. Facing challenges develops confidence and courage. Each time you overcome a difficulty, no matter how small, you prove to yourself that you are capable. You learn that fear, doubt, and uncertainty do not define you, your actions do. The more consistently you meet challenges with focus and determination, the more unshakable your confidence becomes. Life will continue to test you, but these experiences serve to refine your mind, fortify your spirit, and sharpen your judgment. Finally, remind yourself every morning that challenges are part of life, and that avoiding them only delays growth. The world is full of obstacles, and every person you admire has faced difficulties, setbacks, and failures. Those who succeed are not the ones who never encounter problems. They are the ones who embrace challenges, learn from them, and rise stronger every time. Challenges are not interruptions to your life. They are the very experiences that make it meaningful, valuable, and transformative. Every morning, remind yourself to speak the truth to yourself. Honesty with yourself is the foundation of strength, clarity, and purpose. It is easy to deceive yourself, to make excuses, to justify laziness, fear, or failure. Every person does it at times, but those who live with integrity and achieve greatness refuse to let falsehood guide their actions. They face reality as it is, not as they wish it to be. They admit their weaknesses, acknowledge their mistakes, and recognize their fears without pretending they do not exist. This honesty is not comfortable, it is not meant to be. It is rigorous, demanding, and sometimes painful. But it is also liberating. Because when you see the truth clearly, you can act clearly. Without truth, you wander blindly, reacting to illusions instead of reality. Many people go through life with self-deception. They blame others for their failures, ignore the consequences of their actions, and convince themselves that circumstances, luck, or other people are responsible for their lack of progress. This is easy because the mind naturally seeks comfort and avoidance. But every morning, remind yourself that lying to yourself weakens you. Excuses and rationalizations are like chains, holding you back from growth and mastery. The moment you admit the truth, even when it is uncomfortable, you reclaim your power. You take responsibility. You see the areas where improvement is required, the habits that must change, and the actions that must be taken. Truth gives you a map. Falsehood gives you nothing but confusion. Facing yourself honestly also builds resilience. When you recognize your weaknesses and limitations, you can prepare for them, strengthen them, and work around them. When you acknowledge your fears and doubts, you can confront them rather than be ruled by them. When you admit your mistakes, you can correct your course before small errors become disasters. The truth is not an obstacle, it is a tool. It allows you to navigate life with clarity, foresight, and intention. Without honesty, every decision becomes a gamble, every action a risk of disaster, because it is based on illusions or self-deception. By speaking the truth to yourself every morning, you sharpen your judgment and strengthen your ability to act decisively. Self-honesty also protects your mind from unnecessary suffering. Pretending that everything is fine when it is not, denying your fears, or avoiding responsibility only prolongs pain. The more clearly you see reality, the less room there is for confusion, regret, or wasted energy. Challenges become manageable when faced with a clear mind. You no longer expend effort resisting reality. Instead, you focus your energy on what can be done. Every morning, remind yourself that facing the truth is not weakness, it is preparation. It is a commitment to live deliberately rather than drift through life blindly. Moreover, speaking the truth to yourself cultivates self-respect. When you are honest with yourself, you stop hiding behind excuses, justifications, or false narratives. You align your words, thoughts, and actions with reality. This alignment strengthens your character because it removes the internal conflict that arises from living a lie. You gain confidence not because the world confirms it, but because you know who you are, what you are capable of, and where you must improve. The world may try to deceive you, distract you, or manipulate you, but when you practice honesty within, you remain grounded, unshakable, and clear in purpose. Finally, remind yourself every morning that the truth is the most valuable tool you have. It is the foundation upon which every decision, every plan, and every action is built. Without it, effort is wasted, energy is scattered, and growth is stunted. By speaking the truth to yourself consistently, you see clearly, act decisively, and live with integrity. The truth may challenge you, discomfort you, or demand difficult choices, but it is the only path to genuine freedom, strength, and mastery over your life.